The public story of William Randolph Hearst often begins with a headline, the brash young publisher who built a media empire on spectacle, war, and circulation battles. Yet behind that loud masculine narrative sits a quieter structure that made the dynasty durable. It was a carefully staged family image, a marriage that anchored his legitimacy, a parallel relationship that reshaped Hollywood, and a hilltop palace designed by a woman architect. Female power moved through drawing rooms, guest lists, and nurseries rather than newsrooms. The male figure dominated the front page. The women in his life managed everything the front page did not show. The architecture of legitimacy, Millicent and the Sons. At the center of the official family image was Millicent Wilson Hearst. She transitioned from a chorus girl into a society matron, becoming the respectable wife and mother of 5 sons. Photographs project an image of composure and domestic legitimacy. That image was no accident. For a media tycoon whose fortune depended on public perception, the marriage to Millicent functioned as the stabilizing frame around a chaotic, noisy empire. It signaled respectability, continuity, and dynasty, especially important as Hearst pushed the boundaries of taste in his newspapers. The presence of 5 sons transformed the marriage into a dynasty, presenting a visible line of heirs. Millicent's position as the mother of the future owners gave her immense structural power. She managed their social presentation, coordinated their education, and handled the complex task of keeping their public father and private lives safely aligned. In a world where legal control rested with male heirs, the mother often orchestrated how those heirs were perceived socially and politically. This system reveals a subtle but pervasive form of female power, the ability to manage the family's most important asset, its reputation. This carefully managed family story was elevated into stone and marble at San Simeon, the hilltop estate later known as Hearst Castle. The compound functioned as a massive stage set for dynastic theatre, yet examining the spaces reveals the constant, crucial role of female collaboration. The essential choreography of high society, guest lists, seating arrangements, and invitation hierarchies was determined by women who translated colossal wealth into social reality. Julia Morgan and architectural sophistication behind the glamour of San Simeon was the essential collaborator, the architect Julia Morgan. For decades, official histories wrongly credited Hearst as the sole creator, minimizing Morgan as a mere technician. Archival work reveals the true pattern of partnership. Morgan, one of the first prominent female architects in the United States, shaped the entire structure, from the ground layout to the most intricate interior details. Her drawings, correspondence, and rigorous site supervision transformed Hearst's eclectic wishes into a coherent, disciplined design. The castle may have been his vision, but the physical reality reflects her talent and management of massive budgets and complex contractors. She was a forgotten woman of achievement, rescued and acknowledged by later scholarship. The sophisticated architectural design supported a strict social system. Public rooms projected effortless luxury. Hidden behind them were servant corridors and back staircases that allowed staff to move silently. The house functioned like a controlled theatre where female social performance, hostesses, wives, and guests took centre stage, their roles protected by the hidden machinery beneath. This demonstrates architectural sophistication serving social control. Mother-daughter complexity and ironic reversals. Millicent's personal life within this system was far more complex than her polite society photographs suggested. The transition from chorus line to dynasty required rapid instruction and demanded extraordinary emotional resilience. As Hearst's notoriety grew, so did his long-term parallel relationship with actress Marion Davies. The legal marriage to Millicent remained intact for decades, while the emotional centre of Hearst's private life shifted to Marian. This created a familiar triangle: a public wife, a private companion, and sons who linked both worlds but belonged only to one. Marian Davies occupied an unusual, powerful position. While often dismissed as simply a product of Hearst's patronage, she was simultaneously a hostess, a dedicated partner, a cultural patron, and a crucial financial strategist. At San Simeon, she acted as a co-creator of the social environment. Archival evidence shows that during severe financial crises, she used her own substantial funds to stabilize his overextended empire. She sold jewelry and property, providing sacrifice and strategic loyalty. Official histories framed her as frivolous, yet the records reveal an ironic reversal of financial power, the mistress funding the tycoon. Between Millicent and Marian, two different versions of female power emerge. Millicent embodied the respectable matron whose marriage validated the dynasty. Marian represented the companion who provided emotional stability and helped shape his cultural influence. Both roles required severe constraint. Millicent maintained distance and status without intimacy, refusing divorce. Marian enjoyed intimacy and influence, but lacked formal, legal status. Their lives demonstrate how the dynasty depended on women whose contributions were often carefully framed, limited, and separated in the public narrative. The complex web of wealth structures relied heavily on female involvement. While male lawyers drafted the formal trusts, wives and mothers shaped how that wealth impacted daily lives, setting expectations for the heirs. The sons learned public rhetoric from their father, but private expectations were set by the women who organized their world. Pattern recognition and the marriage market. Patterns familiar from other dynasties appear clearly. The official narrative elevates the male founder as singular and self-made. However, business records show inherited advantages, initial capital, and sophisticated social positioning made the empire possible. Hearst's own mother, Phoebe Apperson Hearst, provided both early money and crucial cultural direction. Her funding supported his education and arts patronage. Her role as a powerful shaping influence suggests deep continuity between mother and son, yet she is often minimized. At San Simeon, cultural capital was wrapped around social capital. The collections were curated by women. Within this environment, female social hierarchies emerged. Quiet influence came through loyalty and long-term friendship with the hostesses. Women controlled access and upward movement for other women. The marriage market mechanics for the Hearst sons reflected updated versions of traditional patterns. Their families' notoriety meant older Eastern families often viewed them with caution. Marriages increasingly linked the family to socially mobile young women rather than solely to older dynastic families. Still, negotiations over money, property, and dynastic expectation continued, with mothers and stepmother-like figures influencing which women were welcomed into the broad family circle. This constant navigation satisfies the desire for understanding systems. The resilience of women caught between formal and informal roles shows clearly in the later years of both Millicent and Marian. Millicent established her own identity through charitable work, maintaining her legal status. Marian weathered public judgment and aging, keeping close ties with the Hearst family. Their lives reflect quiet character through adversity, adaptation, and sacrifice. The Forgotten Women Rescued, the Hidden Daughter. The Hearst dynasty is usually told through its male succession, but a delicate story turns not on board meetings but on kinship and acknowledgement. The legitimate female line, Hearst's granddaughters, were never erased. Their names appear in official records. The story becomes fragile a generation earlier concerning William Randolph and Marian Davies. Rumours persisted of a daughter whose name never appeared on the managed family charts. Officially, Marion had a niece, Patricia Van Cleve Lake, raised under her care. For most of her life, she was labelled as the niece. Only near the end did Patricia reportedly claim a new sentence. She was the hidden daughter of William Randolph Hearst and Marion Davies. This identity had been disguised to shield reputations. If this account is accepted, it reveals a precise type of concealment. A daughter was not scrubbed from documents, but simply redirected into a different label. She was included in the orbit of Hearst and Davies, receiving their affection and status, but lacked acknowledgement. This protected the existing dynastic architecture, as a formally recognised illegitimate daughter might have complicated inheritance and unsettled the legal heirs. The choice to call Patricia a niece protected the entire structure. The hidden daughter's alleged parentage emerged in the final act of her own life. This timing was strategic. It ensured the confession would not endanger careers or shift corporate control. The dynasty was mature, its succession complete, and only then could the hidden story safely surface. This represents an ironic reversal. The secrecy was so effective that the truth could only be told when it no longer posed a threat to the family's wealth. The emotional core rests with the women. Marion Davies lived with a public life that denied her full acknowledgement. Patricia, raised as a niece, moved through society with access, but without the full truth. Her late declaration reclaimed something withheld. The Hearst story, like many old money families, confirms that delicate negotiations of reputation and kinship happen around women. The official record may have favoured male heirs and formal roles, but the reality shows women as central actors whose sister dynamics and mother-daughter complexity reveal the real architecture of dynastic wealth. The parallel female networks Marion Davies entered the Hearst world through the side door, but once inside, she rearranged the furniture of the entire dynasty. Millicent was the proper wife, the custodian of respectability, and the mother of 5 sons. Yet for more than 2 decades, the emotional centre of his life was his companion. The uncomfortable truth is simple. One woman maintained the family's legitimacy, and another woman made the empire feel alive. The tension between these 2 roles was never fully resolved, revealing how old money navigated desire, reputation, and power. Millicent remained Mrs. Hearst, holding the legal status and protecting the line of inheritance for the 5 sons. Marion presided over the Californian world of film stars and artists gathered around her, functioning as an unofficial consort. The entire arrangement rested on a delicate understanding of what could and could not be openly acknowledged. Millicent strategically refused divorce, a conscious decision rooted in the logic of old money to preserve social standing and the clear line of inheritance. Simultaneously, Hearst made little effort to conceal his partnership with Marion, giving her access to resources and building a distinct social world around her. One woman protected the surname and the other defined the atmosphere. That division of roles created a unique kind of female hierarchy. Millicent occupied the position of lawful matriarch in the world of charity boards and formal dinners. Marion presided over the world of film premieres and parties at San Simeon. Each woman held a sphere the other could not easily enter. The mother-daughter complexity extended into the generational divide. The sons moved carefully between these 2 centres, recognizing their mother controlled the family's official face, while Marion controlled their father's immediate emotional environment. For Marion, this position offered immense privilege alongside constant exclusion. She lived in luxury, yet knew that her status remained precarious in the eyes of polite society. Millicent retained the right to call herself Mrs. Hearst until the end. This created structural asymmetry. The wife who refused to vanish and the mistress who felt like a wife. The fact that Marion became a financial supporter of Hearst himself further complicates the narrative. During the Depression, records show Marion selling property and jewellery, using her own earnings to help cover his corporate debts. The woman framed by gossip as a decorative companion became, in practice, a financial safety net for the powerful tycoon. This is a dramatic, ironic reversal. Socially, Marion's power expressed itself through the ritual and architecture of San Simeon. She shaped the guest lists, the seating plans, and the entire mood of the evenings. The castle became a theatre of both old and new money, a mix of European antiques and Hollywood figures that Marion orchestrated. In practical terms, this made her a gatekeeper. Millicent's gatekeeping operated differently. Her world centred on philanthropic projects and charity balls in New York. Her tools were donor lists and board appointments. She controlled access to social legitimacy, providing invitations that signalled inclusion in the respectable world of high society. By remaining in her role, she preserved the bridge between the Hearst money and old-line social structures. In this configuration, both women exercised power over other women. Millicent decided which families' daughters appeared on committee rosters, framing them as acceptable partners. Marion shaped the environment in which actresses, models, and studio wives encountered one another. The Hearst empire thus contained two parallel female networks, one philanthropic, one cinematic, and both influenced destinies. This network approach provides pattern recognition for the audience. The ultimate goal of both was the same: the long-term stability and continued reputation of the dynasty.